Sega Saturn. I personally didn't really grow up with it because I had a PlayStation 1 back in the day, and also this product wasn't really promoted. I cannot really remember myself where it was for sale. Oh wait, yeah, maybe one store. So basically PlayStation 1 overruled Sega Saturn, and it's a little bit unfortunate because Sega Saturn has so much cool stuff to offer. That's basically what I realize now. But still, collecting for it in my country is absolutely crazy expensive, and also emulation can be a cool solution, but having so many game boxes laying around, yeah, which one is basically capable of running Sega Saturn good enough that you can just enjoy these old school games. I also did a full review about Japanese collecting and pulp collecting. Should check it out if you're interested in Sega Saturn. But in this video, let's talk about game boxes in general. I want to welcome you to the channel and also the jungle of game boxes. In this video I'm going to focus particularly on a certain platform for emulation. So when it comes to game box, there are so many versions out there, but basically there are only a couple of them or a handful that are quite good when it comes to emulation. But depending on the platform that you want to play, also there we're going to get some significant differences. So that's the reason I want to make these videos, to help you out, to guide you through this jungle of different game boxes so you know what to get for what kind of platform you want to play. So in the last couple of years I've been buying these things as crazy just to see which one is basically worth your money. Because there is a lot of them out there, they're absolutely completely garbage, they look cool or they look absolutely awful, but they work pretty damn good. Also, I just wanted to explain what it is for the people who have no idea what a game box is and basically what you need to look out for. So let's go with the flow and let's see what we're going to get today. What is actually a game box? A game box is nothing more than an Android box. And for the people who are thinking, what is an Android box? An Android box is basically like a PCB inside a case that runs on Android. Android is an operating system that gives you the possibility to basically watch some Netflix and do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So nevertheless, just what you're going to get is actually an Android box that they have modified in some kind of a way. We're also going to talk about in this video about the modification because they did some interesting things lately. So basically an Android box is the similar thing that you can find in your smart TV. It's more like a piece of equipment that you can pick up and hook up to a monitor and just have new functionalities. It will basically is your gateway for basically going into Netflix, Amazon Prime and stuff like that. And also on your phone, your Android phone, you can download and play games. And also you can download emulators and play retro games. There are basically so many different ways to go to. When it comes to the Android boxes, there we have a lot of significant differences when it comes to the quality, the speed and everything that comes with it. But nevertheless, the Chinese are actually reusing these boxes in different kind of ways. But in short, that is what an Android box is, what you normally can do with it. But let's get into the emulation, what this means and what it is. But okay, so you can just make it yourself. Yeah, so if you're having an Android box and you're just having the software on an SD card, you can just pop it in and you just have yourself the same result. Of course, when it comes to a ready-to-go plug-and-play kit from, let's say, AliExpress or where you can find them, the thing is you will have a complete kit, so that will contain the Android box, the controllers and the SD card. The only unfortunate thing is with these ready-to-go kits that it's going to be a gamble if you're going to get yourself a good controller. They're 2.4 GHz wireless working on two AAA batteries. But these are okay quality, but sometimes you're going to get really cheap ones with horrible joysticks and some with some pretty damn D-pads. So is it a great thing to buy? That is something of a gamble. Building your own kit, you can just decide what kind of Android box you want to use, what kind of size SD card and also what kind of quality SD card. So nevertheless, it's going to be way cheaper to do this, and actually emulation can just be downloaded for free. And that is basically something you need to take consideration. Ready-to-go kits. So basically Super Console X and Pauky box or whatever these things are called are just ready-to-go kits. They will reconfigure, or they try to reconfigure stuff. Some of the boxes are pretty damn bad, some are pretty damn awesome. They will give you a good controller and an official brand, or at least a good quality SD card. And you will have sometimes even a modified system when it comes to the software but also the hardware. So everything is slightly optimized and better cooled. So when it comes to these kits, there are a gazillion of these things. There's absolutely the jungle of kits what we're going to talk about too in this video. But again, it depends on what kind of game you want to play and of course what kind of box you're going to use, because all the kind of different chipsets will have a different result when it comes to the emulation part. improved versions. Yeah, there are absolutely improved versions there. So what you're going to get are improved versions. They have modified the Android box itself. When we started the shenanigans when it comes to Super Console X, they just basically slapped an old Android box inside a case. But the main problem was like the heat. These things can get really hot after like using it for a couple of hours, and there was no way of getting rid of it. No active fan, there was like minimum cooling when it comes to passive, and they did some modifications when it comes to these acrylic cases. Added a fan, added better cooling, so they did have like some improved versions of different kind of brands, and even some other brands like Super Console X came with a new version that had like absolutely weird looking piece of plastic on it, but it had a fan and way better cooling in the inside. So that is why you have like with improved versions, they try to improve them. So let's talk about the game boxes and the chipsets we're having and the options when it comes to Sega Saturn. So take consideration are basically three kinds of, let's say, chipsets we can get. And this is like the cheap version. This is the S905 X model, and I just can be clear about it, this thing doesn't run Sega Saturn. The S905 X3 does have the option, but we have like some mixed performance. And then we have, of course, like the more expensive models, GT King with the S922, and this thing is way more powerful than the other ones, and also can run Sega Saturn, but there are some things that you need to know and take consideration if you want to get so into Sega Saturn emulation. So let's talk about the chip versions and what is basically like in the end when it comes to emulation performance. The first one we're going to talk about is the S905 series. They have all kinds of versions, but we just wanted to show you the improved edition. And yeah, what can we do with it and what are we going to get? But take into consideration the S905 X model runs on Android like a very old version in combination with MELEC 3.9, has no support for Sega Saturn at all. But if you're interested in other stuff, it can run up to PlayStation 1 without any problem, and even a little bit of a Dreamcast game. That's it, but Sega Saturn is unfortunately not available on here. The next one, when it comes to the lineup, is the S905 X3 model. And this model has so much more to offer. When you're looking at the price, compared with the older model, it's not like a big step up, but also when you're looking at the firmware and everything, it was so much better. Then we have like the X905 X3, and this is the first model that has MELEC 4 and higher, and also has the Sega Saturn emulator implemented. So yep, we can actually play some Sega Saturn on this cheap box. But how is the overall experience? I can tell you, it's a little bit of a mix. So if you're going to look into these systems, two-dimensional games, they will run just okay. I have tried a couple of them, and I must say that the overall experience was pretty damn good. I did notice a little bit of a slowdown here and there, but I think it's not like ruining the gameplay in general. And the third one in line is the more faster product, and this is more the chipset that is basically like one of the best ones. Basically why I'm stacking these things together is very simple. They have like slightly different performance boost, especially when it comes to the Pro, but basically it is more the choice of what you want to buy, because the Pro version is so much more expensive than the normal. But again, these two, in my opinion, are sharing the same kind of chip, only with some slightly like different clock speeds. But again, when it comes to emulation performance, we don't see like a big significant jump up. But when you're looking at the X3 to the X922, there we're going to get like a very nice boost. But is it worth the money? So basically we have two variations of the S922X chip. But I think when it comes to emulation of Sega Saturn, we didn't have like a big boost up. And also with the GT King 2, we're having like a completely different like specification list. Also here, we're not going to get like a major upgrade. Some Daytona with Sega Saturn, and with this system you can see we do have not like the perfect 60 FPS, so frame skip should basically like enable to get like a great performance and a stable FPS. Again, if you don't really mind it and if you don't see the numbers, maybe you don't even notice it. So that is basically what you're going to get with Sega Saturn. It's a quite, let's say, difficult thing to emulate on a box like this. Even with newer chips, we're still going to get the same issues. Another thing I wanted to try is some Sonic R, just on the same emulator, the Yaba Shenshiro 2 Pro with the Sega Saturn, and I must say that we do get like similar results over here, and better said, like it even plays worse than Daytona, and that's a little bit of a bummer. I must say, like, I find Sonic more playable with lower FPS, but I personally really hate this game. But beside that point, yeah, we do get similar performance when you're looking at the previous models of the GT King. Where a lot of games do have problems, you can still enjoy a lot of cool games on the GT King. In my opinion, these are basically the three ways you can go to when it comes to the chipset and support with EMU-ELEC. The S905 is more like the base model, has a lot to offer, but comes with a lot of problems and a lot of flaws when it comes to emulation on certain systems. Then we have like the S905 IC3. This device has just like new options, new kind of a firmware possibilities, and again, it's just a step up. And of course then we have like the other chipset itself, and this chip is absolutely like the king of them all. But again, it will come always with some problems, and I mean like the problems like still having some emulation issues. But again, it has like so much more to offer, and this is basically the lineup of system where you can basically build yourself, get yourself a kit or whatsoever you want to do with it. It is not really a game box with some EMU-ELEC on it, but the Nvidia Shield Pro is basically the best Android box when it comes to Sega Saturn. It still has some minor hiccups here and there that I'm going to show you, but when you're looking at the gameplay overall and the performance, it's pretty damn good. In combination with the right emulator, you will enjoy it on native resolution. Upscaling, I didn't even bother trying it because I was even happy that I found an Android box that actually like runs Sega Saturn perfectly with every single game I've tried so far. So let's get into it and I will show you what I mean.
Fight!
Another option is of course a mini PC solution. With Bodacera we have so much more to offer. Basically these things are like dirty cheap, way cheaper than an Nvidia Shield, and when you're slapping some Bodacera on it, you can just even play it with some better performance with Sega Saturn. Something I just wanted and just needed to point out today. But again, some of the mini PCs will come with a different price tag and some will be cheaper. But in the end, if you're looking at the Android boxes, like we have like some couple of solutions when it comes to the Sega Saturn nowadays. With let's say the mid-range, the S905 IC3, you will have some limitation where we need to live with, and with the GT King, yeah, I don't know exactly. It's going to be a very expensive thing to have because you need to pay a lot of money and you will not like have perfect emulation. Nevertheless, I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing, and it will be great to see you in the next video.